Trooper Boncho here with Investigator Pro Throw. Today's date is March 9th, 2023. Time now is 8:08 a.m. I'm sitting here with Bossier City Police Sergeant
Stephen Heath Boothe.
Stephen Heath Boothe. Can you spell your first name for me?
S-T-E-P-H-E-N.
B-O-O-T-H-E?
Yes, sir.
What's your date of birth, sir?
3/19/76.
And that makes you how old?
46 for a few more days.
Oh, you do have a birthday coming up. What's your badge number?
0493.
And your radio call sign?
52.
What's your current assignment at the Bossier City Police Department?
Police sergeant assigned to B shift patrol.
And what's your normal duty hours you work every week?
1,400 to 2,200.
Is that considered an evening shift for y'all?
Yeah.
What are your days off?
Monday, Tuesdays.
On the day of the incident, which is the incident we're talking about, is this past Saturday. It was a pursuit that started in Houghton and went all the way into Bossier City and ended in a shooting. Do you know what we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
On the day of that incident, what were your duty hours?
1,400 to 2,200.
Were you working on duty, like a regular duty, any special detail that day?
No, I was assigned on duty. I was Southside supervisor, so south of I-20.
Okay. But 48 hours prior to this event, did you work any extra jobs, work any extra shifts, anything of that nature?
No, just around the house.
Okay. Could you describe your uniform that day that you were wearing?
It was our Class A patrol uniform.
Your Class A, would it have things like a patch on it, your badge, a nameplate, and such? Yeah. The equipment that you had on your duty belt, or did you have an outer carrier?
Yeah, it's a Class A outer carrier.
Class A outer carrier.
It doesn't hold any equipment. Just a badge.
It just looks like a uniform top. Okay, so on your duty rig, what all equipment did you have on the day of the incident?
We started going around our chemical agent, duty whip pistol, aspeton, 2 handcuffs, flashlight, radio, keys, and 2 mags, 2 pistol mags. Oh, and our body mic, clip-on body mic.
Okay. Did you have a taser? No taser? Okay. And your body mic, is that just a microphone that connects to your in-car?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you have a body camera on that day?
Yeah.
Talking about your firearms that day, how many magazines do you carry total?
3.
3? So 1 inside the pistol and then 2 on your belt?
Yeah.
Talk about the capacity of your magazines. What do y'all shoot? Glock 17s?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so is that a 17 round capacity
It
magazine?
is. Yeah.
So to top off, we'd say there were 17 rounds inside of it. Would that be considered topped off or a complete magazine? Is that how yours was set up?
Yeah. I don't put 1 in the barrel and then 17 in the mag. It's 17 in the magazine and then 1 in, put 1 in the chamber. So it's 17 total.
Okay. Okay, so you load 17 and then you insert it to the gun and you charge it and then you don't add another 1 into that deal? Okay. But your other two magazines on your rig belt, those are at 17 and 17 inside?
Yes. I don't have any extensions or anything.
The vehicle you were driving, could you describe it to us that day?
It's a marked, lease black and white. It has interior lights. It doesn't have a light bar. So it's just our standard black Tahoe with our white emblems on it,
Okay.
visible emblems.
Does it say police on the side of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're not the ghosted. They're plain.
There's something you consider a fully marked unit issued by Bossier City Police?
Yeah.
Your interior lights, is that the lights on the dashboard or at the top of the visor?
On the visor, but there's lights all around it. I was assigned to the traffic unit, so we didn't have a light bar. They were just, marked or lights on the inside, and then whenever I was transferred out, I just kept the same car.
Okay. Is there lights in is there a front push bumper?
No.
No push bumper. Is there lights in the front of the grill? Maybe on the,
The rear view mirrors, along the running boards, in the back glass, the back glass on the sides, there's lights, and then across the back.
Okay. And you do have an in-car camera.
Yes, sir.
Was it activated during this event?
Yes.
Did you have any occupants?
No.
Okay. A spotlight, emergency lights, your siren, in-car radio, and your computer. Was that all active and working
Yeah.
properly inside the vehicle? Other than your, you said you have a body mic on, body camera?
Yes.
You have a body camera too, and then your in-car camera. Was there any other audio or recording device, either issued by the police department or that you had personally, that captured any of these?
Just those two.
Okay. So from the time, I understand you were the supervisor that day. From
Well,
the time-
I was the first one on scene, but there were two other supervisors on duty. One was the north side supervisor, and then the other was the all supervisor.
Okay. From the first time that you heard about the incident or was made aware of the incident, could you walk us through everything you heard maybe on the radio leading up to the scene and everything you saw from there?
Sure. Trying to remember, I was on some airline south of I-20. I was in the Patricia Gay neighborhood area when I heard the pursuit coming in and being dispatched to our units. Westbound on Highway 80 coming into the city. I remember they called out the speeds, 94, 97, at that initial time, from what I remember. And then they gave suspect was armed and dangerous. I went out over the radio. And there was a lag in time frame, so it was seemed like it was further along in the city than what we were getting information. So I drove up to Old Minden Road and started paralleling it. My plan was I was trying to get to Benton and East Texas because I have spike strips, and I was going to try to deploy spike strips out in front of it. But as I got right there, probably around I-20 Old Minden and I-20, somewhere along in there, I heard they'd crossed Airline Drive. The vehicle had hit a couple vehicles, and it continued on at higher speeds. And then somewhere around when I got to the Shoney's, passing the Shoney's, I heard shots fired come out over the radio. And then when I turned north on Benton Road, I heard again on the radio shots fired, and I got on scene, so I come up and I kind of turned my vehicle, kind of blocking that intersection. I could see officers out there, and I could tell the situation had kind of, you know, it wasn't imminent, you know, just by their actions. So when I exit the vehicle, first thing I want to do is check on my people. So I asked her, "Where's my guys at? Both city guys, are y'all okay?" "Yeah, guys are okay." I said, who fired? And I had 4 guys that worked for the city that had fired. It was Pollitt, Green, Officer Russell, and Officer Boyd. And I told them, I said, "Y'all go back to y'all's vehicles, There was a Houghton officer, I believe he was a Houghton officer. He had a goatee. He was standing at the truck looking over in it. So my initial judge of the situation that, you know, there was no threat at that point. So I started going into evidence preservation and separating guys. So I had them go to their vehicles. I had one guy there, Burr, because we had guys on both ends. I said, "Stay with Pollitt," and I had to start doing that. So then I went over to check on the suspect vehicle. I could see the suspect laying inside the vehicle. Could see, you know, at least 2 gunshot wounds, one in the leg. There was blood on his head, and there was an AR style rifle laying next to his leg. He kind of gave that nod. There was no air, but the guy, you know, that fish out of water kind of look, eyes open. I knew he was giving it up right then. And then I looked at the firearm again, and I could tell that the magazine had been hit or something, and it was open. And I could see like it was some type of air rifle. So at that point I was like, all right, that's not a threat with him right there. So I left that and directed guys, started putting up crime scene tape, unlocked my vehicle because I had crime scene tape in there, directed one guy to go get that, called for the fire department. They said their stays. I said, well, headquarters sent them down to the scene. Not expecting them to drive in there. You know, we had guys on that side, but they drove in there. I was pretty frustrated with that, driving on top of the crime scene. When they got there, I told them, I described what the victim had done, or I think I called 3 times on the radio for fire department to come on to try to render aid. So when they got there, they initially got there and they were talking about, you know, excavating, you know, out of the truck. So I said, listen, check him. If he's got signs of life, remove him and work him. Check him. If he doesn't have signs of life, leave him right there. You know, I said that several times, and it's like they kind of didn't, you know, they have a different mindset, you know. So also there was like it was a pretty big gathering already, videoing, and there were no signs of life. I didn't see any reason for the suspect to be moved out where they're videoing. So anyways, they said I said, that's an air rifle. That's not a firearm right there. And they're like, can you move it? I said, somebody give me some gloves. So a paramedic gave me some gloves. I reached in, grabbed it, and set it right next to the vehicle, close, not very far. And I tried to get my body camera down where it showed location, where it was at. I haven't watched it, so I don't know if it actually did or not capture that, but it was right next to the right knee area, the way he was laying. They rolled him over, kind of where they could get to him and expose his chest. They didn't have a pulse. They hooked him up to the EKG. They run a strip on him. There was no heartbeat. they tore the strip off. I asked them to lay it on him right there. And so after that, it just became trying to manage the scene. Other supervisors got there. The north side supervisor, I asked him if he would get his camera and go ahead and start taking pictures as it was right there, because I mean, we all know crime scenes start deteriorating. So, well, backing up, probably about the time that I saw the suspect, I called our headquarters and said, go ahead and notify our on-call detectives, have them en route. I knew that y'all worked that kind of stuff, but I figured they were they could talk to y'all and liaison, that kind of deal. So it's kind of our policy to have them en route. Tried to keep people out of the crime scene. I know the police chief of Houghton was right in the middle of a bunch of shell casing, and we had to get him out of there. I heard him kick one of the other sergeants there, got him out of there. I do remember Officer Pollitt had picked up his mags off the ground. I think that was probably a natural reaction. In hindsight, I'd have told him just leave them there, but I think it's just kind of a natural thing. We dump equipment, we pick our equipment up. So, but I do remember those being on the ground and he picked those up. Which he had them on his person, I'm sure, whenever y'all collected all this stuff. Once everything kind of settled down, I mean, we had to get a supervisor back out on the street, because we only had 3 units available at that time. Everybody else was holding the crime scene. And I went back out on the street and continued working, while the other 2 sergeants worked the rest of that incident.
Okay. I'm just going to recap the pursuit part of it for you. So whenever you were first made aware of the pursuit, you were at Airline, close to Patricia, somewhere in that area?
Yeah, that neighborhood area. Yeah.
And then as you were listening to the radio, it was westbound on 80, you worked your way up to Minden, and then paralleled it through Minden all the way until, I guess, you took Minden to Benton Road, and then came around that way, and then came back on 80?
Right.
You were never in the pursuit yourself,
No.
were you? Okay. So once you got there was no more shots being fired. You said it appeared like everybody, like the event just kind of finished, but it was still an ongoing deal, but there was no more threat at the time.
Right.
Or perceived threat from the officers.
Right.
Whenever you described you called the fire department, could you explain a little bit more about what the fire department could do? Is that like as far as the fire, do they do EMS too? Was that the purpose of calling?
So fire department, EMS, I just say fire department, but it was a trauma unit.
Okay.
And the rescue unit was actually pulled in the scene. Rescue unit has all the tools for extraction, out of a vehicle kind of deal. So they had pulled inside the crime scene, and then the trauma unit pulled in first.
So the trauma unit.
Who I was talking to was paramedics.
Paramedics, okay. So representing the fire department, they also do the paramedics in this area. They're the EMS, the first responders, as far as for medical attention. Right. Okay.
The fire department did put some chocks underneath the roof while I was there, because it was kind of teetery a little bit, so just to secure the truck to keep it from rolling on over.
Okay. That was some black chalks with maybe a yellow string around it to hold it. And then whenever you first saw the position of the rifle, you described it as it being on his right side, close to his right leg.
Yeah.
Could you describe maybe the position as far as like which way the barrel was facing? Maybe was he still holding it at all?
So it wasn't in his hand. The way he was positioned in the vehicle, his legs were his right leg was extended out a little bit more, kind of bent, and his other leg was kind of up underneath him a little bit, and he was leaned up what looked like against the console, and his head was like this. So this leg was bent a little bit, and the rifle was laying here with the stock facing his hip, closer to his hip, and the barrel was facing toward his foot.
Okay.
It was up against his thigh.
Okay. And just to better understand, I know you said he was leaned up against the console. Could you describe the manner, like the vehicle, whenever it came to its final rest after a crash? Could you explain that a little bit so they could understand, or we could understand what you mean by his body was up against the console?
So the vehicle, its final resting place was on the passenger side door, and the bed of the truck was resting up against the sign. The front of the vehicle was facing the roadway, was partially in the roadway, so partially out of the roadway on the passenger side. And it had a sunroof that the glass had been shattered out of it. And looking through the sunroof, because the windshield was still intact, with bullet holes through the windshield, and some was through the roof. But you could plainly see through the sunroof, moonroof, whatever you want to call it, because there was no glass, and he was laying there. His head was, toward the back of the vehicle, and his feet was toward the front dash area. On the door portion. So his body was down on the inside the passenger side door.
Okay. So you said earlier that the barrel of the gun was facing straight with his right leg, and his right leg
Towards the
windshield. And
Yeah.
so the windshield in front of the truck was facing towards the roadway,
Right.
which is where the officers were in front of him, or believed to be in front of him, in front of the vehicle.
Right.
The shell casing. Okay.
Well, there were shell casings in the front of the vehicle, and there were shell casings at a 90-degree straight out from the roof of the vehicle in the roadway.
Okay. And just during this event, did you ever draw your weapon and
No.
fire any shots? Okay. Jane, you got that?
Sergeant Boothe, how long have you been employed with Bossier City Police Department?
21 years.
All right. Just to be clear, do you know what agency initiated the pursuit?
Hard.
Okay. And you said that there was a lag. Does the Bossier City Police Department and Houghton operate on different communications? Do y'all hear each other's radio traffic?
No.
Okay, so that would explain the lag. The information was being relayed
Right.
by Houghton dispatcher, Bossier SO, the Sheriff's Department.
Right.
And then your dispatcher was relaying the information to Bossier City as they were getting
Correct.
it. Okay, what radio channel were y'all operating on?
We were operating off our channel 1 main
Okay.
radio channel.
And you indicated that you heard shots fired a couple different times.
The call out officers called out over the radio to dispatch, shots fired.
Okay, so that was Bossier City officers
Yes.
saying that wasn't information being relayed
Right,
through dispatch.
right.
Okay. And when you arrived on scene, do you recall which other agencies were on scene other than Bossier City?
I saw a Bossier Parish Sheriff deputy,
Okay.
and then I saw the Houghton police officer.
Okay. And you identified 4 officers employed with Bossier City that fired shots?
Right.
Okay. While you were on scene and prior to the arrival of the trauma unit, did you see anybody attempt to render first aid to the suspect in the truck?
No.
Okay.
It was pretty quick. I mean,
From the time you got there and the time trauma?
yeah, it
Okay.
probably seemed like it was longer because I had called 3 different times and I didn't get a response. So if dispatch would have said they're en route to you, I wouldn't have called again. But I didn't get a response. So I called 2 or 3 times for them to come on down.
Okay. Was the suspect ever identified to you by name?
Not at that time. I learned his name after
Okay.
I had left.
When you saw him in the vehicle, did he appear to be anybody that you had ever dealt with?
I mean, he had some familiar characteristics, but I didn't think of somebody particular.
Okay. And has anyone asked you to lie or to otherwise try to influence your statement with us today?
No, sir.
No.
Yeah. Is there anything you think we've left out that maybe is important that we should know?
Well, I mean, that's why I wrote that signal too, mainly because, you know, being the first supervisor on scene and then seeing things before things moved, I wanted to document, you know, what I saw.
And when you say signal 2,
It's a supplement.
okay, so it'll
to
be
the original.
it'll be included in the Bossier City Police Department report.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then that air gun and it being moved for EMS to be there, I wanted to make sure that it was documented, its location, you know, and you know what it appeared to be and that kind of thing.
Are you issued a rifle?
Yes.
So when you first saw what you now know as an air rifle, when you first saw the rifle next to the suspect in the truck, did it appear to be what you would consider as an assault rifle that fires lethal rounds?
So in my supplement, I wrote it that night, and my first look, and I don't know, it's not verbatim, but it's in the supplement. My first look, I saw an AR style rifle,
Okay.
and then the suspect, and then after processing and going back and looking at it, you know, the second time I looked at it, I recognized it to be some type of air rifle because I saw the mag, and I don't know if the mag was hit or what, but it had opened up, and you could see, you know, air rifle type pieces in there.
I got you. But at first appearance, it appeared to be an AR style rifle.
At first, when I saw it was AR.
Okay.
And you moved it, did the EMS ask you to move it?
Yes.
And you moved it where to?
I grabbed it with my left hand, I pulled it out, and I set it right next to the truck, like it was within 2 feet from the opening. Like I wanted it to be close, I didn't want it to move plumb away, but I left it facing the way that it was facing in the vehicle.
Okay.
So just set it out. They're pretty funny about, you know, checking people with guns next to them. And sometimes, you know, I mean, we have incidents where it's obvious, you know, and we tell them, look, you know, the gun's there, just, you know, do your thing, and sometimes they don't want it, you know, so we try to preserve it exactly like it is, but, I mean, in the end, if they're just adamant, you know, then we don't put up a huge fuss, but we do try to preserve it as best we can.
So the EMS member that came up and they initially looked at the vehicle, they thought it was a gun, and that's why they asked you to move it.
Right.
Okay. Alrighty. Anything else?
No, I mean, that's about everything that I can think of. I did ask Officer Pollitt's on my SWAT team. So I asked him, I said, you don't have to tell me anything. I said, tell me what was the threat. All I want to know is what the threat was. And he said, when I got there, he said rounds were coming out of the truck. So I said, that's good enough for me. But I mean, the AR in there, I'd already seen that. I mean, if that gets pointed, you know, me, I mean, I'm, you know, I consider that a threat from what I saw. So, but I just wanted to ask him. So that question will be on my body camera. And that was just for me. My peace of mind is my guy.
Is that just like a situational? You just want to know right there, just in case there's any more threats or anything
No,
else?
I wanted to know for my peace of mind that my guy saw the threat that I saw. You see what I'm saying? I just wanted to know for my peace of mind, just to go, all right, you know, I'm good with, we're just, I mean, y'all understand what I'm saying without trying to explain it?
Yep. You say he's on your SWAT team, so you're on the SWAT team as well?
Yes, I'm a
As-
team leader.
Okay, as team leader and a sergeant for the Bossier City Police Department, are you in a position to discipline and or terminate Officer Pollock without somebody above you telling you to do it?
No, I think it would take an cumulative, I mean, you talking about from the police department or SWAT?
Yeah, like can you give him, like send him home, give him time off?
No,
Okay, and you're not in a position to terminate him?
no.
Okay.
Alrighty. Time now is 8:39 a.m. We're gonna end this interview.